Namo Om Vishnu Budhaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vishayane Yosisha Shudhavari Pashtara Sadharani Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. Okay, Hare Krishna. So it's chapter 15. It's still just letting devotees in at the moment, so a little bit distracted. Yeah, Hare Krishna. Welcome, Mother Lataka. Mother, she's just joining. Mother Chandravali's just joined. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so here we are. This is session 125, I think. Yeah, so 125 hours we've been discussing Bhagavad Gita. It's wonderful. So we're up to chapter 14. So this is, yeah. All right. So I pressed the record button. I said the prayers to Srila Prabhupada. Okay, we can begin. Right, someone would like to read this verse, Sanskrit, as best as you can, and the translation of purport. See where we go in our discussion.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, I can
Hare
try.
Krishna. Thank you, Mother Kamadi Priya. Hare Krishna. I'm sure you will be successful.
Thank you. Is it 27th?
27, the last verse. Yes, correct.
Brahmana hi pratishta ham amritasya amritasya vyayasya cha shasvatasya cha dharmasya sukhasya ikantikasya cha. Translation. And I am the basis of impersonal Brahman, which is immortal, imperishable and eternal, and is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness. Purport. The constitution of Brahman is immortality, imperishability, eternity and happiness. Brahman is the beginning of transcendental realization. Paramatma, the Supersoul, is the middle, the second stage in transcendental realization. And the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate realization of absolute truth. Therefore, both Paramatma and impersonal Brahman are within a Supreme Person. It's explained in the 7th chapter that material nature is a manifestation of an inferior energy of a Supreme Lord. The Lord impregnates the inferior material nature with fragments of the superior nature, and that's is a spiritual touch in material nature. When a living entity conditioned by this material nature begins the cultivation of spiritual knowledge, he elevates himself from position of material existence and gradually rises up to the Brahman conception of a supreme. This attainment of a Brahman conception of life is the third stage of self-realization. At this stage, the Brahman realized person is transcendental to the material position, but he is not actually perfect in Brahman realization. If he wants, he can continue to stay in the Brahman position and then gradually rise up to the Paramatma realization.
Okay.
And then to the realization of Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are many examples of this Vedic literature. The 4 Kumaras were situated first in impersonal Brahman conception of truth, but then they gradually rose to the platform of devotional service. One who cannot elevate himself beyond the impersonal conception of Brahman runs a risk of falling down. In Srimad Bhagavatam it stated that a hatha person may rise to the stage of impersonal Brahman without going further. With no information of a Supreme Person, his intelligence is not perfectly clear. Therefore, in spite of being raised to the Brahman platform, there is a chance of falling down if one is not engaged in devotional service of the Lord. In the Vedic language, it's also said, Rasavaisah rasam hi evayam Nandi Bhavati. When one understands the personality of Godhead, reservoir of pleasure, Krishna, he actually becomes transcendentally blissful. Tatiya Upanishad 271. The Supreme Law is full of in six opulences, but when a devotee approaches him, there is exchange of those six opulences. The servant of a king enjoys an almost equal level with a king. And so eternal happiness, imperishable happiness, and eternal life accompany devotional service. Wherefore, realization of Brahman or eternity or imperishability is included in devotional service. This is already possessed by the person who is engaged in devotional service. A living entity, Alhat Brahman by nature, has a desire to lord its over material world, and due to this he falls down. In his constitutional position, a living entity is above the three modes of material nature, but association with material nature entangles him in different modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance. Due to the association of those three modes, his desire to dominate the material world is there. By engagement in devotional service in full Krishna consciousness, he is immediately situated in transcendental position, and his unlawful desire to control material nature is removed. Therefore, the process of devotional service, beginning with hearing, chanting, and remembering, the prescribed 9 methods of realization devotional service, should be practiced in association of devotees. Gradually, by such association, by the influence of a spiritual master, one's material desire to dominate is removed, and one becomes firmly situated in a Lord's transcendental loving service. This method is prescribed from the 22nd to the last verse of this chapter. Devotional service to the Lord is very simple. One should always engage in the service of the Lord, should eat the remnants of foodstuffs offered to the deity, smell the flowers offered to the lotus feet of the Lord. See the places where the Lord had his transcendental pastimes. Read in of the different activities of the Lord, his reciprocation of love with his devotees. Chant always the transcendental vibration. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And observe the fasting days commemorating the appearances and disappearances of the Lord and his devotees. By following such a process, one becomes completely detached from all material activities. One who can thus situate himself in a Brahma Jyoti or the different varieties of a Brahman conception is equal to Supreme Personality of Godhead in quality. Thus ends Bhaktivedanta purport to the 14th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of the three modes of material nature.
Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna. Quite a long purport. Any immediate curiosities or questions?
Can I have a question?
Yes,
You
please.
know, I'm just related to this. I'm also just reading CC at the moment as well,
Yeah,
and it's a bit similar things described at the moment about the Brahman, Paramatma, and
Bhagavan.
personality of Godhead.
Yes,
So as I can see like Prabhupada gave us straight away go to devotional service in a way
correct.
we don't have the stages in Krishna consciousness where we meditate on Paramatma so much.
Mm.
So, but as we can see here, like for Kumaras, they was more like on different realization, but they were so exalted. They were so exalted. So how can we see like relation to such exalted souls, but who goes through Brahman and Paramatma, and in our age where we so have so many different material propensities, and we've been given like that process which is very direct.
Yes, very good point. Interesting question. Well, earlier on in the Bhagavad Gita, trying to remember which chapter. I think it's chapter 12. In the very beginning, Arjuna asks Krishna specifically, what is the most superior way to worship you in your impersonal manifestation, or to worship you in your personal form, and engage in devotional service. And Krishna gives a very quite straightforward answer, explaining that to engage in my devotional service is superior. But he goes on to explain that trying to attain Brahman realization, trying to understand the impersonal Brahman for one who is embodied is very difficult. So for one, it's a very difficult process to realize, to come to the stage of Brahman realization. And we have examples. You mentioned the Kumaras. Also, Sukadev Goswami was a Brahmavadi. So was the four Kumaras. They were Brahmavadis. So, well, that's one reason actually that the process of bhakti is given to us because it's easier. It's not because we are embodied, and actually Brahman realization, although it's some aspect of transcendental realization, Prabhupada says here, is the beginning of transcendental realization. It doesn't give the full access to the different rasas or relationship of Bhagavan. So if I'm answering your question by first of all explaining that it is not an easy path, especially for those who are embodied. And the process of devotion, as Prabhupada points out at the end of this purple, he describes the natural, or we could say, what it means to render devotional service. Prabhupada, you see here? He says devotional service is very simple. So if I understood your question, that's why it's been, or that's one of the reasons why it's offered. Of course, because the Lord Chaitanya is giving it, because it is the direct path. It all is direct. It is direct. One is rendering devotional service to the source of Brahman, which is Bhagavan. And you can see here, Prabhupada, in a very simple way, he describes what it means to render devotional service. So we've got to understand also the context. We are blessed by the appearance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and we are blessed also with the Gaudiya Vaishnav Parampara, where we have access to the whole science of devotion. And also we have the Srimad Bhagavatam. But if you try and think of the situation, say the four Kamaras or other Gyanis, like like Sukadev Goswami, he hadn't come across the personal attributes of Bhagavan. He was a Gyani, and same as the four Kumaras. They had not been exposed to the personal form from which Brahman comes from. So, in other words, they wasn't blessed to have the association of devotees. So they were absorbed in that concept of impersonal Brahman. So it's quite a lofty attainment in that they realized that everything ultimately actually is transcendental and everything actually has a spiritual dimension. So that will bring them to the Brahman platform. Am I making sense here?
Yes, thank you.
So like therefore, um, the actual context of the situation which these Gyanis are in, mostly they haven't been blessed. They haven't been blessed only to a certain point. Are they blessed to have the association of the devotees? Like Sukadev Goswami, it was after he took birth, after 16 years in the womb. as you know. Then his father had his disciples recite verses from the Bhagavatam that glorifies Krishna. And the four Kamaras, when they smelt the aroma from the toes, or no, they smelt the aroma of the Tulsi from the toes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they felt they felt a change in both body and mind, although they were convinced of the impersonal Brahman understanding. So, I answer your question that especially it is not possible for the general people in general to go through this path of Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Yeah. Also, Bhagavatam says, because we are prayena apaso sabya, kalo asmin yuge janaha, mando samanda matayo, mando upadu upatutaha. We have alpasa, we have very small lives, yeah. So to realize Brahman realization, you've got to do meditation for about, I don't know, 100, 200, 3,000 years. But we got very short lives, we're misguided, we're unlucky, and we're always disturbed and we're lazy. So we're not going to achieve perfection through this path of Brahman. So we've been blessed with being given the direct devotional service to Bhagavan. Yeah. So it's a bit of a long-winded answer, but you got the essence of it?
Yes, thank you. I mean, the most essence is because we in Sri
Yeah.
Chaitanya's Prabhu movement and have like a blessings, which
Yeah,
yeah.
that's it. Yeah, that's correct. So they could say, in essence, it's by the grace of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the consequential parampara that we be given access to worship of Bhagavan himself, from which Brahman comes from. So devotees who, so we will experience Brahman realization and Paramatma realization as a consequence of worshiping Bhagavan. Yeah. We will experience these levels of realization. So there's no need to go to a Brahman school first and then a Paramatma school. We just worship Krishna. And then we realize or we appreciate our worship of Lord in everyone's heart and how everything comes from Him. Aham Savasya Prabhavo Mata Savam Bhavatati. Then we realize, yeah, everything is Krishna's Devi Esha. It's all Krishna's material energy. So, yeah, Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other comments on that or questions?
Well, I was thinking
Yeah.
Brahman realization, like impersonal. How can you meditate on something that's not person?
Yeah,
But
ultimately, and that's what Krishna says in 12th chapter. It's very difficult for someone who is embodied because you have to realize it's all negative. You have to realize you're not this, you're not that, you're not this, you're not. So what to focus the mind on? You're just focusing the mind on all types of intense philosophical conceptions that it is not that, it is not this, it is not this, it's not that. It's perfect. Can send you a bit mad actually. So yeah, but this verse is interesting as well because I'm first reading it, like it says here, I am the base of the impersonal Brahman. Okay, Krishna is the basis of impersonal Brahman, that's clear, which is immortal. So Brahman's immortal, it's imperishable, and it's eternal. But this part, and it's a constitutional position of ultimate happiness. Yeah, so it sounds like Brahman is ultimate happiness. You see it?
mm-hmm.
So that's why Prabhupada gives quite a lengthy purport to actually explain it more. He says the constitutional position of Brahman is eternity and happiness. But then he goes on to explain that it's the first stage of realization. So Brahman realization is more like the happiness a prisoner feels when he gets out of prison. You know, he's no longer in prison. But then what does he do once he leaves the prison? Yeah. He's got activities that he performs and he has interaction with people. So yeah, interesting. It says it's the constitutional position of ultimate happiness, but it's not ultimate happiness actually. The ultimate happiness can be realized because it is Krishna. Brahman is Krishna, and this world is Krishna. But Brahman realization, it means you're not aware of Mother Yasoda. You're not aware of the loving exchanges between the gopas and the cowherd girls and etc. None of those, that is not included in Brahman realization. So there's only a certain level of contentment that's experienced by realizing you are not material, you are spiritual. And the world is spiritual as well, and everything around you is spiritual. But that's the first stage, and we have to go further. Well, if those who are on that path, they want to go further. They should go further. Again, is yeah. I just want to check. This verse seems out of context of the chapter. I just want to go back to 6. Oh, yeah. One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcend the modes of material nature and comes to the level of Brahman. Okay. Yeah, this is interesting as well. So it comes to the level of Brahman. So in other words, you come to the transcendental platform, and it's on the transcendental platform that actually you can render devotional service to Krishna. Actually, that's when real devotion begins, is when we are on the same level as Krishna. Like you said here at the end here, this you said, one who can thus situate himself in the Brahma Jyoti or the different varieties of Brahman conception is equal to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In quality. That means not in, what's the next word? Not in quality, but not in
Quantity.
quantity, yeah. So, yeah, that's when devotional service begins, is when we're free from all material conceptions. And that's when real devotional service begins. But devotional service also helps us to get there as well. It's by rendering devotional service, like here, it's by smelling flowers that's offered to the Lord, all these different items. It can eating remnants of prashadam, then we can come to this level at some point of being on the same level as Krishna in quality. And that's when you can render real devotion service. There's a verse that describes like that. Then real devotion and devotional service begin. So that's, yeah, the different stages of spiritualization of the sadhaka. Yeah.
Can it be like the pious devotee? Oh, going. Okay.
What happened?
It's all right. I need to plug my computer up, which I
Okay, what did
forgot. I was just thinking, could be pious people who are going up the ladder, right? So then they come to this kind of realization. Luckily for devotees who meet pure devotees, then they go to the personal Krishna.
Yeah, I guess they're pious. I mean, Gandhis are pious.
Yeah.
In one sense, they practice very strict disciplines and they have very strict sadhana. They're true Gandhi. But yeah, but when they meet the devotee who's absorbed in rasa and is appreciating a loving relationship with Krishna, then it's very powerful. Can have effect on them.
That's why Krishna is saying this path is difficult, because they're going through Brahman, Paramatma, then Bhagavan realization.
Yeah.
Whereas devotees who have met pure devotees can go straight the other way, straight to the
Yeah, and that's what I was reading a nice introduction to that. I was listening to, I forget his name, devotee in the manor. They had Bhadra Purnim celebrations at the manor, and devotee was given a introduction to the program. And he was speaking about the Srimad Bhagavatam and glorifying the Bhagavatam. Yeah. And then the Bhagavatam just gives Krishna consciousness. It just gives devotion to Krishna. Yeah. Yes, Hare Krishna.
You know, like the Jnanis would spend so much energy just meditating on the super soul, you know.
I try and they do. Those are serious. Yeah. So they can be you don't see them so often, the real Gyanis, but they can be good candidates for devotional service. Unless they've become contaminated with Mayavad conceptions, then that's different. Then their heart becomes like stone. If they start to criticize, because their misconception can be, unless they're guided, is that Krishna is also part of the Maya, is also part of illusion, and you have to go beyond Krishna. And they can have all types of, from the Vaishnava's perspective, of offensive conceptions of Krishna. So that's different. Then that's different. You've got the Brahmavadi and Mayavadis. So then their destination is very inauspicious, the Mayavadis. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions or comments at all on this as we leave the 14th chapter? Do you remember we was reading the I try and find it if we can continue it. Do you remember some time back we was reading a nice poem about each chapter when we finished?
Yeah, I was going to tell you last time.
I had a problem with my computer and I lost everything in my computer and I had to my screen broke and the program I've got I can't find it, but I'm going to try and find it. It's really nice. But anyway, so I hope we all enjoyed the 14th chapter. Good. The free
It's really good to
material
get the
nature.
essence of the whole chapter.
Yeah. And what I try and do, I try and bring it up. I try and find it, and next week we can read it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I try and find it now. It take too much time.
No. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Continuing. Chapter 15, which is entitled The Yoga of the Supreme Person, also known as Purushottam Yoga. So Purushottam is the Supreme Person. So interesting. I guess we're going to see what this title means as we read through the chapter. But it's as far as I can understand, it's going to be how the actual manifestation of the material world and its connection to Krishna. Anyway, let's read. Let's find out. Okay, Hare Krishna, text 15, chapter 15, text 1. Let's just see the. Okay. Anyone like to read? Oh, lots of enthusiastic devotees. Yeah, go ahead. Whoever speaks first gets it. Go for it.
Sorry, I don't know. Am I reading or?
Go on, start speaking. Quick. Now, everyone.
Everybody's waiting for each other.
Yeah, go ahead.
Shall I read, Prabhu, then?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, Hare Krishna,
Hare
chapter
Krishna.
15, the Yoga of the Supreme Person. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, it is said that there is...
You have to read the Sanskrit here.
Oh, sorry.
Rules.
Sorry, I just escaped it. Here, Bhagavan Uvacha, Urde Mulam Ayashakam, Ashwatam Para Avyavam, Chandamasi Yashya Puranani, Yashtam Veda Savedavid. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, it is said that there is an imperishable banyan tree that has its roots upwards and its branches down, and whose leaves are at the Vedic hymns. One who knows this tree is the knower of the Vedas. Purport. After the discussion of the importance of Bhakti Yoga, one may question, what about the Vedas? It is explained in this chapter that the purpose of Vedic study is to understand Krishna. Therefore, one who is in Krishna consciousness, who is engaged in devotional service, already knows the Vedas. The entanglement of this material world is compared here to a banyan tree. For one who is engaged in fruitive activities, there is no end to the banyan tree. He wanders from one branch to another, to another, to another. The tree of this material world has no end, and for one who is attached to this tree, there is no possibility of liberation. The Vedic hymns meant for elevating oneself are called the leaves of this tree. These trees' roots grow upward because they begin from where Brahma is located, the topmost planet of this universe. If one can understand this indestructible tree of illusion, then one can get out of it. This process of extrication should be understood. In the previous chapter, it has been explained that there are many processes by which to get out of this material entanglement. And up to the 13th chapter, we have seen that devotional service to the Supreme Lord is the best way. Now, the basic principle of devotional service is detachment from material activities and attachment to the transcendental service of the Lord. The process of breaking attachment to the material world is discussed in the beginning of this chapter. The root of this material existence grows upward. This means that it begins from the total material substance, from the topmost planet of the universe. From there, the whole universe is expanded, with so many branches representing the various planetary systems. The fruits represent the results of the living entities' activities, namely religion, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation. Now, there is no ready experience in this world of a tree situated with its branches down and its roots upwards. But there is such a thing. That tree can be found beside a reservoir of water. We can see that the trees on the bank reflect upon the water with their branches down and roots up. In other words, the tree of this material world is only a reflection of the real tree of the spiritual world. This reflection of the spiritual world is situated on desire, just as the tree's reflection is situated on water. Desire is the cause of things being situated in this reflected material light. One who wants to get out of this material existence must know this tree thoroughly through analytical study. Then he can cut off his relationship with it. This tree, being the reflection of the real tree, is an exact replica. Everything is there in the spiritual world. The impersonalists take Brahman to be the root of this material tree, and from the root, according to Sankhya philosophy, comes Prakriti, Purusha, then the three gunas, then the five gross elements, Pancha Maha Bhuta, then the 10 senses, das Indriya, mind, etc. In this way, they divide up the whole material world into 24 elements. If Brahman is the center of all manifestations, then this material world is a manifestation of the center by 180 degrees, and the other 180 degrees constitute the spiritual world. The material world is the perverted reflection, so the spiritual world must have the same variegatedness, but in reality, the Prakriti is the external energy of the Supreme Lord, and the Purusha is the Supreme Lord himself, and that is explained in Bhagavad Gita. Since its manifestation is material, it is temporary. A reflection is temporary, for it is sometimes seen and sometimes not seen. But the origin from whence the reflection is reflected is eternal. The material reflection of the real tree has to be cut off. When it is said that a person knows the Vedas, it is assumed that he knows how to cut off attachment to this material world. If one knows that process, he actually knows the Vedas. One who is attracted by the ritualistic formula of the Vedas is attracted by the beautiful green leaves of the tree. It does not exactly know the purpose of the Vedas. The purpose of the Vedas, as disclosed by the personality of God Himself, is to cut down this reflected tree and attain the real tree of the spiritual world.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, what a start. Any questions? Okay.
I have one.
Yes, please, my
The
friend.
material reflection of a real tree has to be cut off. And that means we have to cut off the relationship with non-devotees, even if they are friends or members of the family. Now, that has been very, very difficult.
Yeah, I mean,
Easy to write.
well, not exactly. Well, first of all, the idea to cut, let me just have a quick peek at the next verse. Okay, yeah. To cut down this tree or to realize what it is, to realize the material world for what it is, to be an illusory representation of reality, which is the spiritual realm. Yeah. This place is dreamlike because it is temporary. Now we are entangled here. We are entangled in this world, which is this why this it's to mention this is a banyan tree. I guess yeah, in an imperishable banyan tree. So where did our entanglement begin is very difficult to actually pinpoint. Yeah, going back billions, millions of creations, and in each birth we've been engaged in a variety of activities, religious and irreligious. And even if one is religious, then one is still entangled in the tree of material existence, which is not the reality. So, like a banyan tree, have you seen a banyan tree, a big banyan tree? Then it's difficult to know what the original root is, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, well, where does it, because banyan tree, it's quite a mystical tree. It goes up, then the branches come down, the branches root in the ground, and they go up. So sometimes a banyan tree can be, or some banyan trees in the heavenly planets are thousands of miles in circumference. So where does it all begin? But getting more specifically to Mother Rajkishore's point, we're not being asked to cut off. We're being asked through knowledge to understand the reality that our relationship with this world, our relationship with this material body, and consequently our relationship to all those who are related to our body is all temporary, you know. So it's not as if we don't speak to our family members. It's not as if we don't have any interaction and shut ourselves away because it's all illusion. I mean, I don't think you were saying that exactly.
No.
This means we have a very clear understanding
I
of
see.
our actual relationship.
I was wondering that in the young age we have to keep relationship, but as we grow older, we have to sort of start detaching from it. That means cut off, and it's difficult.
Yeah, well, it depends on your situation. Depends on your situation. I mean, if you're, like for instance, if you're, for instance, ladies or mothers, then they don't take sannyas. Yeah. But they develop that detachment within their situation. They remain protected, they remain sheltered, but they spend more time in Shravanam Kirtanam and they're developing a sense of detachment. Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah, so it's not absolutely required for everyone, this absolute detachment in the form of external sannyas where you just cut off from everything. But we can develop internally with a sense of detachment. You just got to come to terms with reality. It may be that you're not going to see your grandchildren go to school. You may just about make it. You may just about see them get married. It may happen, but then definitely, excuse me, definitely the great children or the great grandchildren. You're going to be gone before you see them get a job or get married. So that's the type of detachment. You can be, so therefore we got more of a taste for hearing about for that which is the real prime of life, which is our relationship with Krishna. So is that clear? It doesn't mean we have to
Yes.
be, we have to,
Cut off the
cut
relationships.
off. No, we don't, because then we'll find that would make it difficult for us to do our bhajan. If we refuse to speak to anyone, but we want to do it, I mean, Chandravali could say a lot about this. She's in that state of life as well. But you just want to, more time hearing and chanting. Yeah. Is that okay?
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
I think
Yeah.
you don't have to do anything. Like Krishna has made such a nice arrangement for you. You have a perfect excuse. Your husband's not well, right? So
Yeah.
if the invitations come for anything, oh, I'd love to come, but sorry, Bhagavatan's not well.
So yes, so Krishna's making
So
arrangements.
Krishna makes all the arrangements.
Yeah.
I don't have to go to so many things. I don't drive. I don't drive on motorway. I don't do this. I don't do that. That's it. Me finish.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
Krishna makes up front. We don't have to make any obvious things that I'm Krishna conscious. That's why But Krishna makes all nice arrangements for you.
He
Not
just
to,
arranges.
so anyway, yeah.
But the main,
And
yeah, that's correct. So the main point here of this purport is that we like in the very beginning it says if one can understand this instructable tree of illusion. So this tree of illusion is going to be explained now here in this chapter. Then we can get out of it. So again, it's with transcendental knowledge, just like we just finished a chapter of the three modes of material nature. So now we have knowledge about the modes, and we're going to be hearing about the modes more. So with that knowledge, we can situate ourselves in a mode of goodness. So then as we move about this world, we have to develop Sambandha Gyan, or is it Abhidheya, Sambandha, and the ultimate Prayojan. So we have to know knowledge. So this is being described now. It's Sambandha Gyan, the knowledge of relationship. And it's quite fascinating purport. Prabhupada speaking, this material world only exists because there is a spiritual world. It's just a shadow. And also as a shadow, it's got no substance to it. So this material world ultimately has no substance for the spirit soul. Yeah. And it doesn't work properly. Has anyone noticed this material world doesn't work properly?
Always
Things run
something.
out. Yeah, things get old. We get old. Batteries run out. Our clothes get old. Our shoes get old. Our body gets old. Our relationships get hackneyed or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, so there is experience here, but the experience is not eternity. Yeah, everything here is this material world is shifting, and it's shifting, and it's in constant flux. Material world is in constant flux. Old age, disease, in constant flux. As in comparison to the spiritual world, there is not in constant flux. It's just constant. Yeah. This is abnormal where we are to be, because this is Devi, this is Krishna's creation, but this part of his creation it's part of Krishna's creation, but it's subject to time, and therefore it's in constant flux, and it gives, besails the jiva with adibhotic, adhyatmic, and adidevic miseries. Now the idea is atato brahma jignasa is supposed to prompt us to inquire, what the hell is all this about? We are supposed to have an existential crisis about life. What's the meaning? If someone actually has that, then they're blessed. They actually want to understand more. They want to understand a bit more deeper about what is this place all about, you know? That's, you know, then they may be blessed to read Bhagavad Gita.
I think it's getting easier for us, our generation, because Kali Yuga is increasing rapidly, and everything you
Yep.
see around us is just horrible and miserable. I suppose,
Gonna get worse.
yeah, decades ago, it wasn't that bad. Even in your old age, you know, you had this, you know, I want to enjoy. But I think as Kali Yuga is increasing, and in our generation, we're really seeing it. So it's making it easy for us to actually turn our attention to the Bhagavad Gita,
Yeah.
because there is nothing else.
Yeah. See, that's what I mean, even Krishna's blessed us to get old and for the faculties not to work and for the enjoying spirit to die down. Well, for some old people, it doesn't. But they're trying to enjoy, but they've got, you know, their material body's not going to let them enjoy.
for long.
So that's why Prabhupada was very, you know, Prabhupada, one time he saw this, I think a couple of, one time he's, you know, what do people do when they're retired? What do materialistic people do when they're retired? Well, they don't take up more hearing and chanting.
They
They,
play golf.
yeah, that's what I was going to say. You beat me to it. They try and put a ball in a hole. They're trying to put a ball in a hole with a bit of metal.
Mm.
Prabhupada saw that he was apparently he was had tears in his eyes after checked, but he was feeling very compassionate. Yeah, so yeah, so this material world is a perverted reflection. Prabhupada says here, I often used it's a perverted reflection. So it doesn't work. Things run out, money runs out, you know, things run out, the tubes go on strike. Anyway, there is no tube trains in the spiritual world. Uh, So, so yeah, it's very interesting. As the variegatedness is here, it's there in the spiritual world, and this because there's variegatedness here, there is variegatedness in the spiritual world. So the spiritual world must have the same variegatedness, but in reality. So therefore, there's Prakriti, and Purusha. There's the Jiva, and there's the Purusha, the Supreme Lord. Yeah. Yes, Hare Krishna. But point here, we're entangled in this banyan tree. Yeah, and we have to get out. And this chapter is going to help us, going to explain how to get out, how to cut that. It's not by going to each branch and then finding the next branch and finding, you have to get to the root of it and cut the root. And also here as well, it's the, what is it based on? Can anyone remember what this material existence is based on?
Our desires.
Desire, yeah, that's it. That's why the whole thing happens.
You know, we had, like, I look at it, we had such a simple desire. Okay, Krishna, I want to go and enjoy. Then you come to this material world. You've been here so long, and the desires don't get fulfilled, the attachment increases,
Yeah.
and
Well, that's
on and on, you know? So,
yeah, that's the nature of the Pacific. We are Tatastha Shakti, so we are created or we are manifest as Tatastha, which means we can go in one direction or the other.
mm,
Yeah, but you know we've gone in the wrong direction. You know, being Tatastha Shakti, we have gone in the wrong direction, and now we're trying to go in the right direction. Yeah. Yeah, so it's based on desire, as he says here. Yeah, desire is the cause of things being situated in this reflected material light. One who wants to get out of the material existence must know this truth thoroughly by analytical study. Okay, let's go Sankhya. Yeah. Okay.
you can even see our relationship with families, friends, and everything. It's here, it's all like for my gain, really, in a way. But if you look at the relationship in Goloka Vrindavan, it's love. Gopis do things for Krishna, Krishna does things for
Yeah.
Rajapakshis, you
Yeah.
know. It's completely a different mood. There's nothing for me, it's for Krishna, or it's for Rajapakshis, you know.
Yeah, that's the essence. That's the essence here in the material world. we are trying to serve ourselves. Kripamoya told this nice story. He in one class, I remember quite some time ago. He was asked to explain. He was given an example where someone was explaining hell, and he explained it like, if I get this right, that there was these persons and they had their hands tied behind their back, and their hands they had food in front of them, and their hands were tied to long spoons, about 2 foot spoons on their hands. So they was all starving, because you can imagine it, if you've got a 2 foot spoon on your hand, you know, you can't feed yourself. You get the idea? You can't feed yourself. So this is hell. But then he said, actually, the spiritual world is where everywhere, instead of trying to feed yourself, you're feeding the person next to you. You get it? So as though you got these big spoons on your hands, you're feeding, everyone's feeding each other. Anyways, yeah, so the spiritual realm, everyone is spontaneously attracted to Radha Krishna in different varieties of different varieties of relationship. So they are the focus. They are the couple. They are the most beautiful. Krishna is the most expert. Radharani, etc. Everyone's attracted to Radha Krishna, and they're spontaneously enjoying their specific loving relationships with Krishna. But in the material world, it's all about Janashumoho Hamameti, trying to satisfy the self. So therefore, there's lots of competition here, which has unpleasant consequences. And then you got envy, just to mix it in. You got envy, where those persons have more material assets than what another person has, and another person hates them for it. They decide they hate that person, and they would like to see them dead because they've got more than what I have. It's called envy. All right. Anything else you want to bring out here? We've got 5 minutes left. Okay, let's have a look. All right, I can read this one. It's a little bit short. Okay. Okay. What's the meter here? It's the next. Adashto vidam pratishthatasya shakya guna pravritta vishaya pavala adashtamulani anusantatanti kamanubandhani manashaloke. I forgot the actual correct meter. That's why it sounded a bit of a mess, but excuse me for that. The translation: the branches of this tree extend downwards and upwards, nourished by what? The three modes. We just read that. The twigs are the objects of the senses. This tree also has its roots going down, and these are bound to the fruitive actions of human society. Okay, the description of the banyan tree is further explained here. Its branches spread in all directions. In the lower parts, there are variegated manifestation of living entities, human beings, animals, horses, cows, dogs, cats, etc. These are situated on the lower parts of the branches, whereas on the upper parts are higher forms of living entities, the demigods. I guess we're somewhere in the middle, okay? It's gone straight from the cats and dogs to the demigods, I guess. The Gandharvas and many other higher species of life. As the tree is nourished by water, so this tree is nourished by the three modes of material nature. So that's how it grows, entangled in the three modes. Sometimes we find that a tract of land is barren for want of sufficient water, and sometimes a tract is very green. Similarly, where particular modes of material nature are proportionately greater in quality, the different species of life are manifested accordingly. Yes, so different species of life exemplify different modes of nature. The demigods, the mode of goodness, the animal species, the mode of ignorance, etc. And the human species, we could say the mode of passion. The twigs of the tree are considered to be the sense objects. By development of the different modes of nature, we develop different senses. And by the senses, we enjoy different varieties of sense objects. The tips of the branches are the senses. Oh, sorry, I got distracted now. Yeah, the ears, nose, eyes, etc., which are attached to the enjoyment of different sense objects. The twigs are sound, form, touch, and so on, these sense objects. These subsidiary roots are attachments and aversions, which are byproducts of different varieties of suffering and sense enjoyment. Yeah. So we're attached to something, then we're averse to something, then we become attached to it again, and attachment and aversion. Attachment and aversion, which are byproducts of different varieties of suffering and sense enjoyment. The tendencies towards piety and impiety are considered to develop from these secondary roots, which spread in all directions. The real root is from Brahmaloka, and the other roots are in the human planetary systems. After one enjoys the results of virtuous activities in the upper planetary system, he comes down to this earth and renews his karma. Okay, start all over again. Yep. Renews his karma or fruitive activities for promotion. This planet of human beings is considered the field of activities. Okay, so there it is, some more explanation of the entanglement of this material world. So even reading this, being pious, is also part of the illusion of the material world. Yeah. It's all part, it's just a different leaves, different situation in the material world. We need to get out of the material world. We don't want to be pious. Well, we should be pious, but we want to be Krishna conscious. Yeah. Okay. Any closing questions or comments here? Yeah. Okay. So something to think about, something to meditate upon. We're in this tangled in this banyan tree of material existence. We want to break free of this entanglement, and we can do that by developing knowledge, analytical understanding our precarious situation, and then choosing to engage in activities of devotional service. Hare Krishna. Okay, thank you, dear devotees, for joining us for this session, 125th session of Bhagavad Gita. And we'll continue next week with text 3 and 4. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, dear devotees.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for your wonderful class, Prabhu.
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna.
Prabhu, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.